Welcome to This Week in East Brunswick. Today we celebrate with the East Brunswick High School Lady Bears basketball team as they captured the Greater Middlesex County Conference Championship, defeating Monroe and bringing the trophy home to East Brunswick for the first time since 2002. Barbara Reese visits the new surgical medical pavilion at the Raritan Bay Medical Center in Old Bridge to talk with a radiologist about 3D mammograms and how this new technology can help detect breast cancers that may have been missed with previous testing. Rich Walling, director of the Old Bridge Village Heritage Center, held a program at the library talking about the Van Wickle slave trade, a dark moment in the history of East Brunswick. And Karen Perry sits down in studio to talk with East Brunswick-based oncologist Dr. Michael Nissenblatt about a cancer program and discussion he will host at the library in April. All this and more, so stay with us. This Week in East Brunswick starts now. The East Brunswick High School Lady Bears squared off against the Monroe Falcons in the Greater Middlesex County Tournament Finals at Kane University on Thursday, February 25th. The second-ranked Bears fell behind early to the top-seeded Falcons and trailed 17-16 after the first half. The second half was a different story, as the Bears took the lead behind strong defensive play and some clutch shooting from the perimeter. East Brunswick outscored Monroe 12-4 in the fourth quarter as they pulled away for a 42-31 victory, bringing home the GMC title for the first time since 2002. The Bears were led offensively by their dynamic trio of sophomore guards, as Sabria Glasgow led all scorers with 14 points, including 6 key foul shots in the fourth quarter. Point guard Nicole Johnson chipped in with 7 points and 4 assists, while Chanel Coleman scored 9 points with 2 huge three-pointers as she was named tournament MVP. Senior captains Sydney Greenspan and Allie Warren set the tone defensively and on the boards as Greenspan pulled down 5 rebounds to go along with 2 blocks and 8 points. Allie Warren led the Bears with 7 boards while also recording 2 blocks, 2 steals, and 4 points. After the game, former East Brunswick High School athletic director and EBTV sports commentator Frank Knoppenberger spoke with Coach Keith Lane and some of the players.
Coming into this, we were a slight underdog. What was your thought process going into this game?
Well, we knew they were a very good team, very, very good offensive team. So the key was going to was solid defensively and key matchups. And we had to rebound the ball because they're a very good offensive team. They're a very good rebounding team. So the main emphasis was defense and rebounding.
How do you get your team to believe in defense? That's not a common thing nowadays when everyone wants to see the person who's hitting the big three and the big bucket. But obviously your team is really defensively orientated. How do you get them to play D?
Well, it's one of our four core areas that we try to focus on. I think that's probably number 2 is defense. And we practice it all the time. Our JV team plays it 100% of the time. And we play it probably 95% of the time.
And they believe in D.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
Last thing, you went into your delay in the end. Was that the difference in the game, you think?
At that point of the game, I think it was really, really big because we were kind of running a continuity offense, but we were running it as a delay game. So it was kind of killed some time because at that point of the game, the clock is what we have to beat, and we took about a minute off the clock.
Well, it's a pleasure watching you win this championship, and I've known you for many years. I know it's hard for you to enjoy this win. I want you to enjoy it, Coach, and I want you to just get ready for the stage. But do me a favor, just promise you'll enjoy this win a couple days.
I promise I will.
Well, here I am with MVP of the tournament, Chanel Coleman. Chanel, congratulations. Well-deserved award, but as they said, any of your starting 5 could have won that. What is your thought? Is that the success of us or our team play?
Yes, everyone worked hard and we made each other look good. We knew our strengths throughout the game and we got open shots for each other. Our captains really keep our heads up and they always tell us to fight throughout the whole game. So that really helped us as a team.
What do you think about being the MVP?
It's an amazing experience and I couldn't have done it without any of my teammates.
Okay, and the key to today's game, you said, was just playing together and hitting the open man?
And defense. Defense really helped us in the second half, shutting down their best shooters on the team.
Okay, well, congratulations to you on your MVP, and good luck in the States.
Thank you.
Well, this is senior Allie Warren, also one of our outstanding softball players. Allie, 4 years ago when you were playing varsity basketball, did you ever think you'd be on the championship GMC team?
No, I didn't. My freshman year was very hard on us. We were 5-20, but all the girls like Sydney and Kim and Abby, like the other seniors, we knew that we didn't want to be that team anymore and that we were better than that. So we just worked extremely hard.
Coach Lane preaches defense, and obviously you've adopted defense and rebounding. You had a lot of rebounds tonight. How do you get that mindset that you're going to be a defensive player and a rebounder?
Our team, like we know that we're a very strong defensive team. We have a lot of really quick guards, and Sydney's she even has, sometimes she has to guard guards. We're just very focused. We know what we have to do, and we know that ball pressure frustrates teams, and that's something that we're very good at. So that's what we focused on mainly.
Now, we turn around in a couple of days. We've got the state tournament coming up. Any thoughts on the state tournament, or do you just want to enjoy tonight?
I do want to enjoy tonight, but we are thinking about states because it's very possible we could run into Monroe again, so we're definitely not going to take them lightly because tonight was a battle.
Well, it was a pleasure watching you perform tonight. Your leadership and your poise out there was outstanding, and congratulations.
This is Barbara Reese reporting for This Week in East Brunswick, and we're very fortunate to be here today at the Raritan Bay Medical Center with Dr. Lawrence Chase, attending radiologist. So tell us a little bit about 3D mammography and mammograms in general and their importance.
Well, 3D mammography is also known as digital breast tomosynthesis, and this is the latest advancement in mammography. It aids the breast radiologist in detecting the smaller breast cancers when they're easier to treat and improves the chance of survival. It works by enabling us to see the internal architecture of the breast. The radiologist is able to scroll through the breast and see thin layers of breast tissue instead of a global picture of the breast as we see with the current 2D technique. This has been especially helpful in women who have dense or extremely dense breasts. The 3D mammogram technique or tomosynthesis helps not only in detecting breast cancers but also has decreased the recall rate. There have been multiple studies throughout the United States in multiple hospitals, and over 100,000 patients have been reviewed. And the research has shown that 3D mammography increases the detection of all breast cancers, approximately 15%. And most importantly, the 3D technique combined with the traditional 2D technique increases the detection of the most serious breast cancers, the invasive breast cancers, by up to 40%. That's a big difference. And so in addition to increasing the detection rate, the 3D technique reduces the recall rate. And the recall rate is when a patient has a routine screening mammogram. She is a patient who has no symptoms. She comes for her mammogram, and she may receive a letter from us or a radiology facility that states that she has a questionable abnormal finding on that screening mammogram, and she has to return for a diagnostic mammogram and possibly an ultrasound examination. When we do the 3D technique, which is combined with the 2D technique at screening, it reduces that recall rate. It reduces the number of false positive examinations. It also eliminates the cost involved to the patient in coming for another mammogram and ultrasound. And also it has been shown to decrease the number of unnecessary breast biopsies that are done for benign findings.
And when do you recommend that women come in for these screening mammograms?
The medical societies recommend that women begin mammography at age 40. And the reason for this is that 1 out of 6 breast cancers occur in the age group from age 40 to age 49. And then annual mammograms are recommended after that as long as the woman is in good health. The frequency of mammography is something that each woman should discuss with her healthcare provider, with her physician. In addition to that, the American Cancer Society, gynecologists, radiologists, surgeons recommend that women perform monthly self-breast examinations because it is often a woman who discovers a lump in her breast. Usually these lumps are fortunately benign, often cysts, often normal breast tissue that simulates a lump in the breast. So if a woman develops a lump in her breast, she should make an appointment with her doctor and let her doctor examine her breast, and a doctor will determine whether she needs a diagnostic mammogram and ultrasound to determine if that lump is something serious that may require the patient to see a surgeon and have a breast biopsy.
And I understand you also use MRIs to help those women who are high risk for breast cancer?
Yeah, yes, we do. There are certain women who may begin mammography earlier than age 40, and those are women who have a higher risk of breast cancer. I should state that most breast cancers occur in women who do not have a family history of breast cancer. About 75% of breast cancers are in women who do not have that family history, and that's why a screening mammogram is important, because breast cancers can be seen on mammography several years before it becomes large enough to be a lump. But if a woman has a first-degree relative, such as her mother, her sister, her daughter, who developed breast cancer, particularly at an early age, she may begin mammography prior to age 40. And if she is at high risk because she has a genetic predisposition, such as BRCA1 or BRCA2 or other hereditary syndromes, or if a woman had a prior breast biopsy that showed that she's at high risk for breast cancer, then there are other screening tests, such as breast MRI of both breasts, that are helpful in finding some of the early breast cancers. The other screening test that is utilized is a breast ultrasound that is performed of both breasts, and we do that in our department at the hospitals, and we also do breast MRI for this. So we have various screening modalities that we perform to keep women healthy.
Thank you, doctor, so much, and it's good news to hear that such a wonderful facility exists so close to home.
Thank you, Barbara, very much.
That runaway was the public notice that exploded in the face of Van Wickle and his accomplices. The program today explores two aspects about the Van Wickle slave ring, which operated in the East Brunswick area back in 1818, 200 years ago. Judge Van Wickle was a large property owner, he was a businessman, he was an elected official, and he utilized the power of his office as a judge to circumvent the law that had been intended to protect the rights of African Americans living in New Jersey at the time. And he used his power to issue bogus certificates of removal, whereby the free people and those people still in bondage were forced into permanent slavery in the deep south of Louisiana. Instead of a manumission certificate, these are certificates of removal. So it would say, on this day came before me so-and-so, the owners of the slaves, and they say that the slaves have agreed to go to Point Cuppy on the Mississippi River to serve Nicholas Van Wickle and Charles Morgan for a term of years or just as slaves. The second aspect of the program is finding their descendants today, and we've been very fortunate in that we have been able to locate some family members of that original group of people.
I want to say how happy I am to be here this afternoon to talk about this subject, because slavery is a very ugly part of American history. But it is American history, and the story must be told. Just because it wasn't written doesn't mean it hadn't happened. This is a chance for the story to get told, for you to tell your friends, and to make sure things like this never happen again. It never must happen again.
This is a day of remembrance to the people and the families of our county and state whose lives were torn asunder by greed and indifference. This is a day of memorial to their lives, to give names and voice to those who left no written record. History is built upon the written word. The Old Testament remains as strong today as it did when it was written in Babylonia thousands of years ago. Hammurabi's code in Akkadian cuneiform, the Egyptian and Mayan hieroglyphs still remain today, so we know of those people. But for millions of Americans, which a nation just 250 years old, there is no written record. No stories of individual or family history, no story of each person's own individual humanity. Even records like birth, marriage, death were not recorded. That might otherwise provide a chain of documents from ancestors to descendants. The deliberate omission of such records in this modern era is in and of itself shocking. We are here today to begin to give names and voices to the scores of victims of Judge Jacob Van Wickle's nefarious acts. His facade of judicial process condemned more than 100 human beings to a life of cruel and permanent slavery on the sugar and cotton plantations of the Deep South. We have a term for his actions, human trafficking. And it was decried of people by goodwill then as it is today. That will also be a part of today's presentation. As we move forward with this project, we will fill in the blank pages of history, and we will link the lives of our ancestors of 200 years ago to their descendants of today and tomorrow. Generations will once again be bonded by ties of family. That is as it should be and as it will be. We all know the story of 12 Years a Slave. We know Armistead, the movie about the boat of African who overpowered their ship's captain and ultimately won their freedom. American history is deeply detailed, very rich in context, and East Brunswick had a role in that, and we plan on expanding the story of Jacob Van Wickle, finding his descendants, and bringing the story to a much wider public audience. This is a quote from one of the pages. Basically, it says, on February 10th, James Brown in Middlesex County brought before us Jacob Van Wickle, John Alcott, 2 judges, his female servant named Harriet, age 3, 4 months and 28 days, child of Lydia. On 26th of February, Nicholas Van Wickle brought before us his female child named Susan, age 7 months, child of Flora, Mary, age 2, Augustus, a male child, etc., etc. And these are all the children listed, all of which children named as far as they could answer, being with their respective mothers by privately examined, separated and apart from their masters, declared their willingness to go south. Okay, something's wrong with that picture. We look at the movie Sophie's Choice and think, oh my God, that's horrible. This was done not to a fictional character in a movie, but to all of these women whose lives, they dedicated them to their children.
Hello, I'm Karen Parry. I'm the Manager of Information Services at the library, and I'm so happy today to be joined by Dr. Michael Nissenblatt, oncologist here in East Brunswick at Regional Cancer Care Associates. Welcome, Dr. Nissenblatt.
Thank you.
And I am so excited about a program that the doctor will be holding at the library on Wednesday, April 6th, entitled, Is Cancer in Your Family? Is Cancer Due to Bad Genes or Bad Luck? What an interesting title and what an interesting topic. Welcome, Dr. Nissenblatt, and can you please tell us a little bit about your program on Wednesday, April 6th?
Absolutely. You know, there's at this time about 1.7 million cases of cancer in the United States every year, about 600,000 deaths. The data just came out from the American Cancer Society Cancer Journal. And last year there was an amazing article that was published from Johns Hopkins by Bert Vogelstein and Christian Tamasulo. And the study was entitled, The Cause of Cancer, Is It Bad Luck? And the final analysis was that about 2/3 of cancers seem to be caused by the unpredictable mutation events that take place in genes that can then promote cancer. That led to an enormous controversy. If cancer is bad luck, then what difference does it make whether we smoke or drink? What a difference does it make whether we take care of ourselves with physical exercise and cautious diet? If it's going to happen anyway, it doesn't make any difference. Furthermore, it was felt that only 1/3 of all of the cancers were attributable to genes that we would inherit from mom or dad, or from other mechanisms that we would not have control over. And so the idea was that if cancer was something that was going to be unpredictable and bad luck, we wouldn't do anything. Well, I take exactly the opposite step. I see patients every day who think that their cancer is not controllable, who thinks that their cancer is caused by something that they did to themselves, and therefore they feel a sense of guilt. They feel a sense of hardship. They feel that they've harmed their families. And I tell them that's wrong. No matter whether you were a smoker, a drinker, or had some other process that led to cancer, for example, hepatitis, or parvovirus, or a virus such as HPV, these things that can cause cancers, in which case we can modify our lifestyle. We can modify what we eat and what we drink, and it does make a difference in terms of our futures. There are many genes in our body. There's thought to be about 22,000 of them. Of these, about 125 of them have something to do with cancer. Some of these genes are genes which are gatekeeper genes. A simple mutation in one of these genes can open up a gate and lead to a floodline of other events that lead to cancer. Other genes can then promote the progression of a cancer. We call these driver genes, just like if you're driving a car. But if you're a driver in a car, there can also be passenger genes, genes that just come along for a ride and which don't really cause the cancer or promote the cancer, but are part of life. Well, these genes, some of them are genes that are like stepping on the gas. We call them oncogenes. Others of them are like stepping on the brakes, breaker or suppressor genes. All of these genes can be modified by our lifestyle. All of these genes may be affected by what we do. The plan of this program that I'm going to present is to tell the public that there are things that we can do. We can take charge of our lives, we can modify our lifestyle, and we can reduce the risk of breast cancer, whether it's sporadic or whether it's hereditary. And when it's hereditary, we can be proactive, or I like to use the word proleptic, and do investigations that determine the risks, that determine whether something might be developing already at a very early stage, and then we can interrupt the natural history of their high risk of breast cancer and prevent them from developing breast cancer altogether. By the way, it's important for the public to know that this, in the case of breast cancer 1 and breast cancer 2, that men are also at risk. Men are also at risk for sporadic breast cancer, of whom I see quite frequently. I want the public to know that we can do many things, that guilt is not on the table in this lecture, but being knowledgeable, being informed, being self-armed can help us be able to take charge of our lives. Never give up. Stopping smoking for 10 or more years reduces our risk for developing lung cancer to the same level as though we were never smokers if we have ceased for 10 years. People get worried about drinking. If it's red wine, not a problem. Inside of red wine are components, something which is called angiotensin, that reduces the risk of developing cancers of all sorts. And so life longevity that we hear from red wine can also be accompanied by reducing the risk of many cancers. The exercise, we're going to talk about strategies for early diagnosis. We're going to talk about who should be tested for the high-risk genes of colon cancer, the high-risk genes for lung cancer, the high-risk genes for breast and ovarian cancer. We're going to talk about strategies for prevention, whether it's sporadic or whether it's hereditary cancers. I want the public to be informed, armed, and with that, we can help together to reduce their risk of breast cancers, their risks of colon cancers, their risks of lung cancers, and many others. And I will take questions from the audience regarding treatment, diagnosis, and any strategy they wish to pursue. I invite the entire public to participate in this groundbreaking East Brunswick RCCA-sponsored program. And I thank East Brunswick Library. I thank Karen Perry for making this possible.
Thank you, Dr. Nissenblatt. We are so happy to sponsor this under our Just for the Health of It initiative, and we are so inspired by your knowledge and enthusiasm. And I welcome all of our residents to please come to Dr. Nissenblatt's program Wednesday, April 6th at 7 o'clock at the library. Thank you, Dr. Nissenblatt.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Melissa Hosick, and I invite you to attend one of our upcoming March events at the East Brunswick Public Library. All are open to the public. On Saturday, March 19th, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., visit our Makers Day, where hands-on programs and demonstrations for adults, including upcycling and building furniture, DIY phone repair, bookbinding, film editing, and more. On Wednesday, March 30th at 6:30 p.m., come learn about the East Brunswick Community Garden at their annual meeting. To register for a plot, please visit the link below. On Thursday, March 31st at 7 p.m., Dale Calendar will help parents and teens learn how to write unique college essays, develop a list of target schools, and talk about current trends in admissions. To learn about our other upcoming events, such as film festivals, computer training, and crafting for adults, visit ebpl.org/calendar or follow us on social media. We hope to see you in March.